Hosea, minor prophet.
Yeah.
Lived around the time about in the mid 700 BCs. He lived at a time when moral decay was flourishing in the country of Israel, and God was about to allow them to fall into the hands of the Syrians, and he was doing that to punish them for their wickedness. And so God commanded Hosea to marry this woman, Gomer. Gomer is described as a wife of whoredom, likely promiscuous or prone to infidelity,
right?
Possibly prostitution.
Yep.
And the reason why God commanded Hosea to marry this woman is it was symbolizing Israel's spiritual idolatry through idol worship.
Right.
So Israel had joined the pagan religion, and they were sacrificing babies, and they're making
to Moloch.
They were living amongst
How
the
did
pagans.
they go about sacrificing those babies to Moloch? Can we talk about that quick? Because that's spooky.
They would heat up stones, and then they would take these babies and lay them on hot stones and watch them.
And they would have this big altar of this like horned man, and there were stones on his thing. They would heat up underneath it, and they'd boil their babies on top of the statue to a demon. That is what was happening at that point in time. And so now God's coming in to punish them by giving them over to the hands of the Assyrian army. So God commanded him to do this. And then they had 3 children. And so they had symbolic names. One was Jezreel, which was foretelling the judgment of the house of Israel. They had a daughter, Lo Ruhamah, which meant no mercy, indicating God's withholding his compassion on them. And then another child, Lo Amai, who knows how to say these names, man, but which meant not my people, signifying a broken covenant. Yeah, we need Wes Huff in here to explain how to
pronounce names.
Each one of these words.
Whatever. Gomer eventually left Hosea and went back to a life of prostitution, many lovers, amplifying his public humiliation because this was a culture where family honor was prominent. And so for Hosea being commanded by God to do this, to go and marry a prostitute, Hosea knew going into this that this was going to be a hard marriage, that he was going to have to make some sacrifices of his pride, of his family, but he was doing it because he was speaking the words of God to the people of Israel, and he was showing them this is what your life is going to be like. Some of the key verses we pull out of this is Hosea 1:2. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, "Go marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her, for like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord." In Hosea 3:1, so we see the story of Hosea. When you read it, there's 14 chapters in here, and it's him proclaiming to Israel their sin and then what God is going to do to them. And after his wife had left him, God commanded him to go and buy her back. And so the Lord said to me, "Go show love to your wife again. Though she is loved by another man and is an adulteress, love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods." I think for a man especially, this would be very challenging, is to have a wife that has cheated on you and then God calling him to, I want you to go love that woman anyways.
Yeah, but think about this large context of this, because that second piece is the catalyst of the whole thing, which is to show them the love the Lord has.
That's it.
So that's what he's saying to us, to you, to guys like you and me, who throughout our big portions of our lives spit in God's face with our very existence. There's very little difference between me and these Israelites before I knew Jesus.
As you read the Old Testament, you see the Israelites sinning, God bringing judgment, forgiving them and coming back into community with them, and then them sinning and God judging them and coming back into community with them. And you read their story and you're like, man, why do these Israelites keep doing that? Oh, wait.
It's us.
That's me, right? It's a metaphor for my life as well, because you're exactly right. Is without God's forgiveness, if I'm left to my own sin, I'm dead to my trespasses, as the Bible says. I was living horrifically in the eyes of the Lord, and He still came in the midst of my brokenness and forgave me and brought me back into community with Him.